Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of College Football UK. As ever, I am your host, Fletch, and this podcast is brought to you by the Asleep at Work Network. Joining me this week to talk about college football week, well, we're at week 2.5, right smack bang in the middle of week 2 and week 3. Joining me to talk about week 2 action and then look forward to week 3 is, in screen order, Nick. How are you, Nick?
All good. Running on empty, but yeah, all good.
No worries. And then we've got Mr. FSU. We've got Gary. How are you, sir?
Doing well, doing well. Loving life right now as an FSU fan, which has been a long time coming.
And finally, we've got Mr. Texas, the man who only watches Texas. We've got Sam. How are you, Sam?
I am
Sounds
all right.
quiet.
I'm even better if I take myself off mute.
Yeah, that would help. It really, really would.
It's because I'm half on baby watch and the dog's whittering like hell, so I'm trying to not have any background noise going on.
See,
You did
while
it. So is that a
everyone's
dig at my cat joining in the
I
podcast?
was gonna say between his dog and your cat,
everyone at home thinks, "Whoa, this is such a well-produced."
Do they?
They must be in a beautiful studio doing all of this. No, we're not. This is real and raw, straight from our living rooms and bedrooms and whatnot and spare rooms. Okay, so Nick, let's get us going. Do you have any news from the past week in the world of college football?
Oh no, nothing's happened in the past week.
Nothing.
Nothing's happened.
Nothing.
No, nothing has happened at all. Right, okay, let's get going. West Virginia running back Jaheim White and wide receiver Jalen Bray are done for the year.
Oof.
They have both picked up injuries last week, and I think, Jaheim White will require surgery, so they are both done for the year. Missouri quarterback Sam Horn is also done for the year. He's had leg surgery after breaking his fibula, I think. He spent all of last year injured as well. So I think he was a redshirt freshman last year. So that makes him a redshirt junior. So he's still got another, even though he's been in college 4 years, I think he's still got another 2 years of eligibility yet after this year.
Okay.
So we should see him again. But so those three players have finished their season, and it's not even the end of September.
Oof.
Mississippi State, their win over Arizona got very expensive. $500,000 expensive to be precise, after
Oh.
their fans stormed the field, pulled down the goalposts, and left the stadium with the goalposts.
Sounds
Vanderbilt
like
last
Vanderbilt.
I was going to say, yeah.
Maybe
Vanderbilt
watching
last
back
year took
yourself.
Vanderbilt last year took them down to the river and threw them in the river. I don't know where Mississippi State fans put the goalpost, but they definitely left the stadium with them. My only thing with this is the inconsistency, because last week when when FSU stormed their field, they got fined only $50,000. Yeah,
But maybe it's not the first time that Mississippi State have done it then.
well, is it not? Is it not to do with different um, conferences? Because I
Yeah,
think there's an
yeah.
inconsistency in conferences and what they
They charge
penalise.
or
So
whether or
obviously,
not,
yes,
or have they thrown a bit extra because they stole the goalposts as well?
I don't know,
Yeah.
but the SEC fined Mississippi State 500,000 in
Out of
November.
interest, can anyone remember
Well,
what Vanderbilt got fined?
I'm
Uh,
Five
trying to
thousand
look
was it?
in my notes while not being sort of. I
I'll,
could
I'll,
find it if
I'll have a
I could
look.
find it at some point.
I don't think it was.
Um,
I thought it was only 25 or something. Maybe I'm.
it might have been that, but they changed the rules.
Yeah, they
Um,
did up it.
250,000.
Oh, I
they
knew there was a two five in there, but
In November, Wyoming will retire the jersey number 17 of Josh Allen. He will be the first Cowboy to have a jersey retired.
probably the only
So,
cowboy that's been drafted out of Wyoming for the last however long.
I mean, he didn't actually do anything at Wyoming. So what are we, and he hasn't actually won anything
He hasn't done
in
anything in
the.
the NFL, has he?
So what are we rewarding him for?
What a
Existing?
Wyoming. rewarding him for, I guess.
So, right, this has been in the news. Go on.
Sorry, I just want to provide one bit of clarification. All of the fines for Vanderbilt, they received three fines in the year last year. Two of them were because of basketball. All three of them were because of fan storming. So they received the $250,000 fine after Alabama because it was the second violation on the year. The first one came. Sorry, no, they received a $100,000
Yes, they had
fine
100,000 for
because
that
they
one.
stormed the field after beating Alabama. Then a few weeks later, they got a $250,000 fine for storming the court after beating number 6 ranked Tennessee. And then a week later, they got a $500,000 fine because they stormed the court after beating number 9 ranked Kentucky. So obviously,
Yeah, so I think it's based upon how many you do. So
yeah,
it's like I think Arkansas last year also had three because they received a $500,000 fine as well.
yeah.
So I think it's just down to it. From what they've said, it's essentially if you it doesn't matter the sport, it's the actual action itself.
The
So
athletic program is
yeah,
as a
so I'm
whole in
assuming
decision.
that Mississippi probably have already had two previous stormings of some sort.
Yeah. So just wanted to
Uh,
some clarification on that.
no, that's all right. It has been in the news this week about Bill Belichick banning the Patriots staff scouts from the campus of UNC. Obviously, that has been confirmed as true. I think, me personally, I think Belichick's behaving like a 5-year-old and he needs to grow up. But he's confirmed that he has in fact banned their scouts. Now, did he not come out and say, "Oh, I'm going to turn UNC into a professional outfit. I'm going to make sure that they have the best opportunity to be drafted"? Yeah, well, not by taking a team off the board, you're not. Something that did fly under the radar in that article that I hadn't heard was that not only in banning the Patriots scouts from the whole campus, Bill Belichick has implemented a zero access policy to all NFL scouting personnel when it comes to speaking with his coaches, players, and other staff. Any NFL scouts that wish to speak to a coach or a player or a member of staff need to liaise with the UNC Pro Liaison Fronte Jourdain, and everything will go through him. So you can't, like, what he's basically saying is Mike Vrabel can't, or sorry, for example, Mike Vrabel can't ring up his mate Steve Belichick and say, "Oh, what about because Bill won't let that happen." So that was a little thing that flew under the radar of the main story that Bill had banned the Patriots scouts. I thought that was quite interesting because again, it falls in that how are you doing if you're talking about a professional opportunity and a professional you know, giving your
Doesn't
players the
that
best,
surely
but
that happens all the time when NFL scouts, people reach out going, to
I suppose
pre-draft and whatever. Isn't that not impacting on his players by
I
not
suppose
allowing it?
what he's probably trying to do is he's trying to not
centralize everything.
not be seen as being biased towards one team and giving them preferential treatment over the others. I'm assuming that it'll essentially be that when it comes to scouting, he'll allow all players all scouts the opportunity to come when it's the right time, i.e., not just allow anyone to come in based on preferential treatment because he knows them, sort of thing. I'm assuming that's the reasoning behind it because
Yeah.
and also there's probably something along the lines of within the rules that they can't be seen to be offering better opportunities to certain NFL teams than over others. Yeah, so I'm assuming there's probably something along those lines. The only other thing that I just wanted to quickly add, and the reason why, just because obviously the clarification around why Mississippi got the fine this time. The SEC actually changed its field storming fine structure over the summer to implement fines of $500,000 every time a crowd enters the field or court before the visiting team has a chance to head back to the locker room. So if they were allowed to head back to the locker room and then storm the field, that'd be perfectly fine.
Yeah, but it's the inconsistency between conferences.
Yeah.
So,
unfortunately, I suppose that's the problem with having a multi-conference, a sport that's run by multi-conferences rather than one singular overhead body, really.
Yeah.
You mean like the NCAA?
Yeah, like the NCAA could easily have their own, or the NCAF could easily have their own, like,
standardization
for everyone. But the only thing is, the only problem that I would say with that is teams that are in, like, say, the SEC and just the SEC conference as a whole receive a significant amount more money than, say, those in, like, the Mountain West. So I think the reason why they've allowed them to have fines the way that they've done it is to kind of make the fines applicable to the universities rather than having a bog standard fine, which again I suppose is, you could say, is inconsistent and unfair, but also at the same time, if they just went, right, everyone has to pay a £500,000 fine, it could cripple a smaller conference university. So, but then I suppose that's probably the incentive of not doing it.
Them storming the damn field then. But,
I've just found my notes from that week. Vanderbilt were fined $100,000. Arkansas, who also stormed their field that week, were fined $250,000. So there you go. Two teams in the same week were fined two different.
Yeah, but the Arkansas one was their second offence because they'd had a court storming the week before that. So that's why there was an inconsistency. But that now it's just for this SEC teams, it's just a flat $500K rate now.
Yeah. So, and the final piece of news that I've got for everybody is the NCAA and the FBS Oversight Committee have agreed on a single transfer portal that will open in January after the playoff quarterfinals and run for 10 days. So the teams that are in the semi-finals of the playoffs, while trying to concentrate on that, are also trying to manage the portal for 10 days. Because it will be the one and only portal that will exist. They have got rid of the spring one, and it will be one portal for 10 days from the 2nd of January. December will become a recruiting dead period when no on or off campus meetings or evaluations can take place.
Are you listening, Michigan?
You can speak to players during December, but you cannot have them on campus for a meeting or meet them off campus, at a gym or whatever, So,
or a burger place.
Yeah, or wherever. So that, I believe today, I had it up earlier. There was a comment from Brian Kelly. He said, I'm not going to cry on the yacht, but along with Ryan Day, they both made the comment that it's not exactly easy to be managing a playoff team and doing the portal. Kirby Smart said something similar. I guess.
I understand that because but then I suppose they're that's what their backroom staff are for.
Yeah.
And just use your backroom stuff.
Use that.
I do get it. It's like putting two extremely important things on the table at the exact same time. Like there's so much room throughout the year to put that, and they put it smack bang when the college playoffs are on, which makes zero sense.
I know, but why not do it like 2 weeks later when the playoffs have finished?
Oh yeah, quite easily could do it then, or do it before the playoffs. Like, I mean, obviously, it should be after. I think once the season's over, that's when it should be. But it's just a bizarre decision to go. When is the most inconvenient, disruptive time to do it for the teams who are good? Right when they're about to play in the semi-finals.
It does feel a little bit like, well, you've done well to get to the semis. Here's a little bit extra aggro.
Yeah. Oh, you know that star player that's played really well all season? He's
buggering off somewhere else now.
He's going somewhere else now.
He's going to the team that you're playing in the semi-finals for next year. I mean, that's going to happen, right? There's going to be somebody who's going to transfer in the portal to their opposition in the semi-final.
So, and that is the news.
Lovely, lovely. Okay, so let's get straight on to week 2. An action-packed weekend for half of the teams, as there was a lot of blowouts this week. It felt like we're not going to focus on the blowouts. No one wants to hear about the blowouts.
I'll leave then.
There are a few games that we do need to run through, though. I'm going to start with, because I want to get it out the way, we'll start with the only top 25 matchup of the week, and that was Michigan-Oklahoma. Sam, I'm sorry we couldn't beat your rival, but then again, you didn't do us that favour, so why should we do that for you? I'll start with just how shocking Michigan looked as a whole. We got dominated in every single area of the ball. Oklahoma were better on offense, they were better on defense, and as a whole, better on special teams. The play calling was atrocious. You are taking a Ferrari or a Mustang or whatever you want to call a Bryce Underwood of the world, and you're using it to go to Asda once a week. Not good enough. Like, let the man do what he needs to do. Let him play his game. It's not good enough. Bryce Underwood walked away 9 completions off 24 attempts for 142 yards. A number of those were drops. But also a number of those were just part of what was a very good defensive scheme, getting him off kilter, getting him off his platform and forcing mistakes. No interceptions, no touchdowns, and an 87.2 passer rating. The bright spark of the game, the only real one for Michigan was, a couple of those passes were fantastic and a couple of the plays were great, was as you walk into the second half, Michigan get the ball. Justice Haynes breaks off for a single 75-yard run for a touchdown. Michigan then force Oklahoma to go 3 and out. And you start to think, maybe Michigan have figured it out. Maybe some in-game adjustments have worked. Absolutely not. That didn't happen. John Matei, I don't want to just focus on the Michigan side of things and the bad side of things, went 34 of 21 for 270 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Also went on the ground, 19 attempts for 74 yards. And also a big shout out to Dion Burks of Oklahoma, who caught 7 passes for 101 yards and a touchdown. Again, I say, I don't want to dwell on it too much. Oklahoma, the much better team, on all 3 phases of the ball. You watched why that you watched that was an incredible defense that they put down, and some of the comments by John Matei at the end were classy as fuck. Very, very classy in the way you spoke about Bryce Underwood. Guys, did any of you watch the game? If so, would you like to provide any more insights into how this game was played out? Any thoughts that you noticed that maybe I missed whilst throwing hissy fits for 3 hours?
I managed to watch some of the highlights, and to me, and again, I didn't really look into it. I probably should have before I came on, but what was, and this is more of probably more of a question for you first, because you'll have probably been in and around it. What was the reaction to the game, to Bryce Underwood after that game? What was the general overarching theme of what people said about him?
Most of what was said was the play calling didn't help him and his offensive line didn't help him. As I said, there were a number of times he had to escape the pocket, he had to break. There were a number of it just felt a lot of run pass, run pass. Predictable play calling. We kind of knew what was coming. The pass would probably end up being a screen to Justice Haynes, which would get blown up at the line. A lot of it was you aren't playing Bryce to his full potential. The throws looked good. The moving off center, out of the pocket looked good. Rolling out, he looked good. Just wasn't helped by play calling and a lot of the and a few drops as well. So that
Okay.
seemed to be what was said on both sides. Oklahoma people and Michigan people were saying the same thing.
The only reason I ask is because to me it seemed very, although probably Bryce probably played slightly better than what Arch did in his first game against Ohio. I saw a lot of similarities in the game in the way that the game played out in terms of a great defense against a team with essentially a rookie quarterback who is highly thought of. Potentially the argument that they're overhyped if you're going to go down that road.
Yeah.
But the reaction to what happened to Manning compared to the reaction to what happened to Bryce when they had the exact same thing, because we can talk about all the bad throws that Manning did last time, but it's like it's that double standard, isn't it? Like of how he goes. Because I don't think Underwood played badly, but like I say, he was hampered by the play calling, and that was very much similar to what was happening last week with Texas. So I'm just trying to sort of understand the logic of we've seen two quarterbacks do the exact same thing against brilliant defenses. One has been ridiculed and said that they're a flop. The other has basically just been, well, it was the play caller's fault. So, and I agree that it was the play. Like there was a lot of bad calls in terms of how the game was ran. I just think it's from someone from the outside looking in. I just think it seems a bit bizarre. But then I suppose that is social media. So, but I just wanted to raise that sort of comparison because the game itself, obviously, it was like a flip. Obviously, it was my rival against you, and last week it was your rival against me. So, and the game, it sort of felt very similar in the way that it played out. There was just a little bit more scoring on your side.
Yeah.
But to me, that's kind of my take on it and how the outcomes of the games are different in terms of the views on the quarterbacks when they're both sort of in a very similar boat.
Yeah. Entirely fair.
Yeah. And it sounds, was it the hype of week one and oh my God, he really is that good? Sam, you were very level-headed about Arch. There's going to be a roller coaster, and then maybe the second game, this is the true. He is still his only second ever game, so give him a bit of a break. Maybe the play calling didn't help, but it's interesting to see if he gets a pass rather than as you say, Arch didn't get quite so much as a free pass with the first game.
I think probably a lot of it is down to expectation and also the level of hype that Arch Manning has got. I mean, Bryce, although he was, the number one 5-star recruit out of college and everything like that, and he, switched allegiances to join Michigan and all of that sort of thing, and there is a lot of hype around him. I still don't think there is the same level of hype yet as there was on Manning, and that might be why. But, I just found it interesting because it was almost like a week later and we're having basically the flip side of everything that we've just had from week one, and the same outcome happened, but a different attitude to how the games were seen. Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting perspective on it.
Entirely fair. Entirely fair. Nick, did you get any of this game in?
No, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch any of Michigan, Oklahoma. I was watching other games.
No worries. Well, like I said, I don't want to do too much focusing on this one single game for the primary reason of I just don't want to talk about it. I'm still annoyed. But
don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I think for anyone listening, it looks like that Brent Venables defense was nasty, very, very good. I don't want to just sit here and say how bad Michigan's play calling was and how they did this and how they did that, because I do feel it takes away from just how good Oklahoma were, who were genuinely very, very good. And that defense was horrible to play against. So yeah, all around, Oklahoma better than Michigan in all three main departments. And I want to give one more special shout out to John Matei, who, one, looked very good while playing, made the plays that counted, and two, again, the comments he made after the game, talking about how much he respected what Bryce Underwood did during the game, how good he looked, and how difficult it is to play against a Brent Venables defense and all that sort of stuff, and what he expects from Bryce Underwood going forward. A genuinely classy gentleman, to which I'm very sorry to have to praise your rivals like that, Sam, but I wanted to make sure that that was shouted. In other
It's still,
news,
it's still Oklahoma, though.
it is still Oklahoma, and obviously screw Oklahoma, but I'll put a little thing out there for John Matei specifically. We all know what my favourite part of college football is. I don't care about the natty, apart from a couple of years ago. Don't care about bowl games. Don't care about any trophy that exists
Oh,
in the
you
real
care about
world.
one.
We care about one thing on this podcast, and that is the college football MacGuffin, which is now
Woohoo!
in a brand new home. We didn't think it was going to be this week, but it is
We
this
did
week
not.
that it has changed. It's not moved very far. The college football MacGuffin has gone from Gainesville, Florida to Tampa, Florida after USF beat Florida in Gainesville at the weekend. This was on DAZN as well as the previous game was as well, but this was on DAZN. Did any of you get a chance to watch it? I didn't watch the first quarter, but it was a very good game. Other than
Yeah, I watched bits and pieces of it. I think I watched more than Haley Sawyer did, um, in regards to where that was ranked.
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll come on to that later. But yeah, a great follow-up result for USF
Yes,
in regards to week two. Beating a ranked team, etc., etc. Yeah, a really good game, really good game plan. Didn't it wasn't like it wasn't also like a crazy game. It was just a really good game of football. Two teams, well, I suppose one team playing really to their potential and one team not. And that quality of this can happen any Saturday in college football if you're not on your A game. A team that executes the game plan well will always come out on top.
They are the only team to play two, win two, and win two against ranked teams above them.
Mm-hmm.
So
What's
I mean,
what's what's also interesting is that their next game is they're not going to be leaving the state for their next game
No, the Shula
because
Bowl.
Miami, yeah.
they've got another ranked team in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, if they beat Miami, do they go? Do they become number one?
Yes.
Because
I mean,
I think they're pretty low at 19. I
I
think
think
they're
they're
at
shockingly
19.
low at
But
18 or 19 or wherever it was. But
if
they
you go,
beat number
if you
five
literally
Miami.
beat Boise State, then you beat Florida, then you beat Miami, you've played 3-1-3 all against ranked teams, and one of them's ranked that high. You should at least be up
Where
there
top five,
too.
Miami are. Yeah,
top five.
they should replace where Miami are right now, if not more, depending on other results. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think what's a shame, and I mentioned her name there, that the AP pollster has kind of taken over the storyline of the fact that, hang on, everyone's forgetting that USF beat University of Florida. This is a massive thing. Billy Napier's job is now seriously under threat, because of this result. But the whole AP poll voter thing has kind of taken away the shine of the win, which is a
Yeah.
real shame, I think, for the actual college and university and everything else.
I mean, we had many a discussion last season about the ranking system and the way that the AP do it, and how it just seems to be so inconsistent and not structured, because you can't make sense of it. Because
Mm-hmm.
you look at this week. Well, going into week two, Georgia were four, I think. Miami were 5, and Oregon were 6.
Yep.
Yeah. Now I think
We were
Oregon are
7.
4.
We
And
were 7.
now I think Oregon are 4 now. Well, Georgia won and Miami won. So why should Oregon won? So you should maintain. Everyone should maintain their position. Why
Yep.
are none of them played a ranked. So there's not like any more importance on your win over the other one. It's just it seems to be it's not about performance. It's about who you are, and you
Well,
seem to get.
that was the argument we had a lot of last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of it's more about I
Who
think
they
although
are.
they say that like yes, who you beat and who you lose to makes a difference, but I also think it's down to which one of you is more favored over the others.
Mm.
It's like Notre Dame. They went up a spot and they didn't play. You know, I, I mean, I've always been of the opinion if you don't play, you shouldn't move. You shouldn't go up because that's not fair. You shouldn't
Yeah.
go down because that's not fair on you either. So if you don't play, you should stay exactly where you are. In theory, that top 9 should have stayed exactly how it was, but it all got changed. It all got changed around.
We stayed where we were. We won and stayed where we were.
Yeah, you won and stayed where you are.
We were the only ones that did.
Um,
But
but again, like I want to talk about the game. We'll get onto the AP polls and the polls in a
sorry, yeah, I
second.
got
No,
distracted
it's
there.
fine. I just want to run through where was this game won and lost? Because I can pull up stats for days. I can pull up your first half and your second half and all your cumulative stats and everything. South Florida win it on a walk-off 20-yard field goal. But where's the game won and lost other than a walk-off 20-yard field goal?
I felt Florida got bullied in the trenches. They just their offensive Florida's offensive 5 at the front could not handle South Florida's defense, whether they were blitzing or whether they were bringing two. It just seemed to be that they didn't have a clue as to what was going on, and I think it's almost like Florida. The impression I got is Florida had that attitude of, well, it's only South Florida.
Yeah.
They went into that game thinking it's only South Florida, and then by the time they realized, oh, we're in a dogfight here, it was too late. But they got tore up in the trenches for me.
Yeah. And again, and we've seen it before in college football where, a team which is better goes in there and goes, oh, we'll just turn up. All we have to do is turn up. And they get absolutely bullied. They get, as you say, beaten up in the trenches. And once, I think we talked about it last week, once you start losing the trench battle, turning that around is very
Yeah,
difficult in game. So, that seems to be, once they realized they were in a game, it was almost too late for them to get out of that mindset.
I mean, Nick, you've always said that there's a number of games in a season which are seen as like banana skin games if you don't turn up, and that was a perfect
yeah,
example of one where if you take your eye off the ball for just a second, you suddenly realize you're a score down and you can't seem to recover, and that's kind of how it felt for Florida. And I think if anyone else is looking at, if other college teams are looking at that result and maybe a couple of the others that we've talked about or we are going to talk about potentially, if you're going to look at those games, that's surely got to be a wake-up call that no game is easy in college football. I mean, I know they probably already know it, but just watch that game if you're sort of any coach.
If you
just
think
see,
if you think your team has a chance of post-season games, or an eyeing the playoffs or whatever else, there's your wake up. There's your dose of reality. Watch that game and go, look, boys, we might think we're good. We might think we're ranked in the top 10. We might, and da da da. This can happen to anybody. This can happen on any given Saturday. We have to, as you say, turn up every game, execute to the best of our ability. Otherwise, we're going to be the next Florida.
yeah. And I mean, I think there was an element of that with the Mississippi game against with Arizona State. I think they went into that game thinking, well, with
We
Mississippi
won the
last year,
conference when Mississippi
yeah,
State were
they were,
nowhere. Yeah,
Mississippi was it 0-8 in the conference last year? So
something.
it's I get they are a SEC team, but they are one of the seen as one of the worst. And you would have thought that they'd probably gone into the game looking at the same thing and gone, yeah, we can win this.
We'll just
We don't
roll
need to
this. It's
be at
easy.
full
Yeah.
percent and just another game where a team you would expect to win got basically controlled and Mississippi State went 10-0 in the first quarter. So at that point, you're already in a 2-score game and you're already losing. And I think actually, in fact, they went 17-0 up.
Oof.
So and then it took a a a quarter and a half for them to get back level and then take the lead and then lose it on a touchdown. So, the fact that they'd sort of even to turn around and get it and be in a winning position and then still lose. I just think that
That's almost worse, isn't it? You finally drag yourself back, and then you still.
Again, there's that element of right. We're now in the lead. We can sort of relax. It is only Mississippi. Well, it's not just only Mississippi by the looks of it.
Is it safe to say that Billy Napier is going to get the sack?
Well, I think so.
Because my question was going to be, I think he's going to get the sack. The question is, does he see the season out? That was going to be my question.
That's the next.
I think he's
does he
getting
get the
sack
after this, or does he get a game to turn it around, or whatever else? I mean, or is the next loss that's coming? Because I don't think we had Florida going unbeaten, but I don't think we had them losing this game. So I think they might be on the cusp now of potentially not being bowl eligible, let alone being playoff eligible. So as far as I remember, I think we were.
I mean, their next game, this week's game, LSU.
Oh,
then
lose that.
Then Miami, then Texas, then Texas A&M, then Mississippi State, then Georgia. I can't see Billy Napier surviving that run.
No, I can see them maybe winning one more game.
The only problem is
maybe Mississippi State, but then they've just beat Arizona State.
The only problem with it is
who else?
Will sacking him at this point do anything for the result at the end of the day? Because to me, it doesn't. I mean, and obviously we kind of talked about how Florida have a better team than they probably have had in a while, and how they can cause upsets, or at least that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
I genuinely think that, to me, the next two of the next 3 games, I don't see them winning at all. Potentially
even close, right?
I can't, to be honest, I can't really see them winning any of the next 3 games. The only one that I was maybe thinking they potentially would have been Miami, but I don't think that they can.
No.
You're then looking at the next 3 games, they're only going to win one of those 2 games. And I'm, again, not convinced that the Mississippi game, the way that they played it against Arizona, they could easily win that game against Florida.
Yeah, and the problem with that is it's 4 or 5 games away, isn't it? So
and then their next 4 games are Kentucky, who have actually looked all right. Ole Miss, I don't see them winning. Tennessee, don't really see them winning. In Florida, the way they've been playing, I don't see them winning that either. So you're looking at
a 2-win season, maybe max.
You could be looking at a 2-win season, and I don't think a change of coach will do anything to improve that. And that's just the nature of their season. I reckon they'll probably they could potentially get a couple of wins in there. So you're looking at maybe like a 4-8.
If you leave him in the job and he continues to lose, like you just said, you look at those games. If he continues to lose and lose and lose, and you leave him in the job, what
is it then?
What does that say? What does that say for the atmosphere of the of the team, both internally and externally.
Yeah.
I mean,
look at Florida State last year. We had
I was
so
going to say,
bad.
I didn't want to rub it. I didn't want to rub it through your nose, but you guys just dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah. And we lost
know.
recruits because of it. People changed
But
allegiance. They left.
at
They were no, we're not going to play for FSU. They're really bad.
At the same time, if they change the head coach and they still lose all of those games,
Yeah.
you're then giving a
Hang
head
on,
coach
how much?
a
Yeah,
losing
but I
start.
guess the flip side is how much would it cost them to say thanks, but no, cheers, didn't quite work out. It's probably a hefty amount. He's probably on a fair amount.
The Billy Napier's buyout is 85% of his remaining contract, which after this season is 19.38 million. And they have an agreement to, within 30 days of firing Billy Napier, they have to pay up 50% of the money. And then up to 2028, they then have to every July pay equal installments of that amount. So they would owe him. Say they sack him in January on the 1st of January. By the 30th of January, they'll owe him 9.7 million, and then in July,
Another
then they owe him about $1.5 million
until he gets another job or something, right? Probably.
No, but then they owe him $2 million a year for the next 4 years, 5 years.
But if they then sacked him in the next week or so, how would that change it? You'd be looking at an extra
9 million or however much, easily, yeah.
So the deal he signed in 2021 was 7 years, 51.8 mil. So we're 21, 22, 23, 24. Well, the 5th year of that deal. So we take 4/7 of that out.
Take 4/7 of it out.
Good luck.
For just shy of
7.5 million.
40.
7.5 million a year is what he's getting. If you're doing 7 years, it's 49, 7 to 49 plus a bit extra, right?
51 divided by 7 is 7.2. Times that by 3 years are we talking? What's left?
So he's had 8.
But if we were to do that
he's
now,
he's had 4 seasons.
19,
so he's only got 3 left.
It's just shy of 7 million a year.
21.85 million is what he's still owed in his contract. So if they were to do it now, they would have to pay out
10 million.
10.9 million.
Something. Yeah.
Whereas if they wait until the end of the season, or say the end of they wait another year, they're only going to have to pay him 7 million.
9.5. 7
so
million,
what I'd imagine them doing is when you want to do it, you'll probably see some boosters for the program turn up and say, "I tell you what, just as it roughly costs 9.5 million to get rid of him in the next 30 days, booster will turn up with 10 million, right? There'll be something like that goes down because obviously the university aren't going to pay their own money to do it.
No.
And you will find a booster soon enough who's angry enough and annoyed enough at the state of Florida that they want to pay 10 million to see him out because they've got the money.
10 million will be cheap at half the price type thing. Yeah.
Coming on his airboat.
But
down the glades.
I know you talk about there like we talk about the impact of what it'd have for him to go. And but what if sacking him and you still lose the games? What if the players still go? But half of it is atmosphere. The results are important. Don't get me wrong. The results are absolutely important. But if what he's got is a bad atmosphere, players don't want to be around that. But if they still continue to lose, but everyone's a little bit less toxic with each other, everyone's in a little bit better, just everything's a bit less nasty in there.
And they don't lose.
Makes a difference.
I mean, the thing, looking at now, I'd expect them to get absolutely rinsed with these upcoming games, right? With barely laying a glove on some of these teams. If they change the coach and the teams try, yes, they might still get beat, but do they keep it within 7 or keep it within 10?
If you don't change the coach and you let him see the season out,
by
the time you've sacked him and you've got somebody else in,
the lame duck there, right? Let's be honest, everyone probably knows he's going.
Yeah, the transfer portal's already he's already and it puts whoever's coming in right on the back foot to start with, and I don't think you want that either, because you want to sort of give. We see it in our football. You see that new manager bounce, don't you? As the new manager, the new manager comes in and you get that kick. And so I don't think they want to be waiting so long to and lose out on the new guy coming in and being on the back foot in the off season. So it might be that come he doesn't see the season out, but he sees this. It might be sort of like just before Christmas or something.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be one of them though, I think, where also who's available.
Yeah.
You'll probably just end up running with an interim in the meantime anyway. Because as we know, for the majority of the time, like in our football, if you're getting sacked, you're getting sacked. The season's too long. There's too many games to wait that long. But in the world of American football, like if you're 6 games in, like the season's done or not, it could very well be done right now. So you may as well wait. You're getting an interim in. You're not getting someone in who's ready because all the coaching changes will go on in December time and January time. So you're not waiting for the next guy, and the next guy who comes up will probably only be available in December because
he's
when
currently in a job.
Because it's a group of 6 team who they're having a really good time of it at the moment, and they want to give a promotion to, or it's someone who gets fired from, or a coordinator from a higher school. But that it's quite sad that is the outcome. Congratulations to South Florida. We'll bring you back. I'll bring you back up in about 20 minutes ish.
Yeah.
Because we'll be talking about the retention of it. We don't just talk about when it changes. We need to make sure we're keeping track of it.
Mm-hmm.
Another game that I managed to watch this week that was very exciting. I decided to tune in to the winners of the Aer Lingus Classic. I want to track their season a little bit.
The
They are
CyHawk.
3-0 after winning the CyHawk Trophy, the Iowa Derby in Ames. Now, this is why college football is one of my favorites, if not now my favorite sport on the planet. When you watch games like this, when you see just how rocking that stadium is for such a game, it's beautiful. And what came out of it was a classic game. An absolute classic of a game where Iowa State walk away 16-13 winners, beating their cross-state rivals. Again, this wasn't on DAZN, so obviously I didn't actually watch it. It was all in my head.
You just read the play-by-play and just
read the play-by-play. Had it up on stat broadcast, like I just those sort of things are what happened, and I could just picture it. What a play-by-play it was to read. Did anybody else read the play-by-play?
I didn't.
I kept flicking in and out because I was on Illinois versus Duke, and I was also trying to pay attention to Baylor and SMU. So I was flicking in and out of the Iowa game, but I wasn't giving it as much attention as I probably should have done.
And I think that's probably because we probably all thought it would be pretty one-sided, even with an Iowa Derby and all that sort of stuff. We probably all thought Iowa State 2-0, looking pretty good. They'll probably be pretty comfortable in this game. Again, underlying and maybe underselling the rivalry aspect of that derby.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I loved I don't know if you saw it, but I think it was the Iowa State coach who came out afterwards and said, "This is what college football is. This is Americana. This is it. It was rough tumble. It was rocking. It was go absolute. Yeah, it was full on. This is why you watch. This is why you go to college. This is what you want to see every week."
And this is, I'm going to say, I'm going to just say it, because again, we spoke to Spencer McLaughlin a few weeks ago, and I said, look, I'm not the biggest fan of, I understand exactly why it annoys people that games are played here. right?
Mhm.
I do get it, and it's not going to stop me going and watching Iowa State and Kansas State or Michigan Central, East Western Michigan or whatever game is being played over here. I'm still going to go and watch it. I'm going to make the most out of the opportunities that we're given. I would be livid on behalf of everybody else if a game
Oh, yeah.
like this was played overseas. Like
Yeah.
a true rivalry game was played overseas. I would be livid for the fan base because you won't get that atmosphere in Dublin. You won't get it. You won't get that atmosphere in Germany. You won't get that anywhere else other than Iowa.
Mhm.
The only place
It's
you'll get it.
it'd be like playing like the I don't know Manchester versus Liverpool in I don't know.
Guadalajara.
Well, the City and United played a friendly in America last year.
Yeah.
Like,
That was a
year
pre-season
before.
friendly, right, or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
but that's the only way you could get away with playing that game somewhere else
Yeah.
is the fact it's a pre-season friendly. Now, this weekend is the Manchester Derby, and
Imagine
if
picking
they,
that up and putting it in
yeah,
Texas.
if I would be having a hissy fit
Yeah.
if that was
Yeah.
anywhere. But a friendly, well, crack on.
Yeah.
Take,
Which is
take
what,
it
and
where.
I suppose that's interesting, right? When you go back to, the Aer Lingus Classic, it's only in the last couple of years where it's become more of a meaningful game. Usually,
Yeah.
week zero games have been a bit of a last pre-season, first week season, not
Yeah.
really counted. Now, week zeros are starting to count. So,
Yeah.
that's a new addition type thing.
Which is like when we talked about before the season started, when we were doing our specials, whatnot, and I did that whole restructure of college football and everything else, and I said, hey, week zero, the college classic should be the national champion of the FBS versus the national champion of the SCS, and
Hmm.
then nobody come, you're not taking a game, away, a local game or anything like that, or a rivalry. You are just taking a game between two teams that'll never, very rarely ever play each other, and it could technically change every year.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
the only thing with that would be is that like if you have like an FBS against FCS, if say you wanted to then because especially like someone like Ohio, they're not going to then waste time playing the likes of
Montana State.
Jeremiah Smith and all of that
No,
because
I used it as
but that
I
be
used it as an
yeah, but that
example. It was
you'd want maybe sort of I don't know, you could have it as like a replay of the Natty final or something like that. That'd be pretty interesting. But
Hmm.
again, do it if this is the only problem with pre-seasons, and this is maybe where we're a bit, you could argue that probably British have it because we have such an affinity for the sport. If someone was to bring a pre-season game over instead of an actual game, it would probably still sell out, but it would be it would devalue the Aer Lingus Classic a lot, in my
Yeah.
Yeah.
opinion. But that's another conversation for
I
another
think,
day.
but I say with college, you don't have pre-seasons. You have the spring game, and I was thinking like, well, if we do bowl games at neutral sites, why not do a bowl game? But then trying to get a stadium here that's free for a full few days
Yeah.
during December, given the nature of the stadiums that we're going to have to use, that's not going to happen. But something like a bowl game would be brilliant because they're a neutral site game. They're an opportunity to go play in another place, and but also you've probably got traveling to another country and like given where they are in the academic year.
Mm.
Anyway, I don't want to turn this game into a focus on international games or anything like that.
Mm.
I want to turn this into an opportunity to say Iowa State, your Aer Lingus Classic champions, are 3-0, and they looked bloody good. And one of the things that, like, again, when watching this, and last year, you've got Conradi, who is the Iowa State kicker. He last year hit a 54-yard field goal to win the game as time was expiring. He's hit from further before. And what that means, as we know in football, just how much that means to your quarterback in dire situations when you know you've got a clutch kicker with who is one is accurate, but two can go the distance.
Yeah, Gary probably knows about not having clutch kickers.
You beat me again. I was gonna say Jake Moody's a clutch kicker, isn't he?
I had to dig
Well, he
the
was the
knife and give it
Michigans.
to the Niners.
Oh,
Well,
that's
at
twice
least-
you. That's twice you've beat me.
At least the Niners didn't lose that game.
It's the minimum you should expect out of a third round pick if you're going to spend it on a kicker.
This is a college football game. This is the college football podcast. This is not held on the line.
He
Can
used
we
to play
stick?
college football.
Can we stick to the relevant
You'll still catch strays, don't
subject?
worry.
I'm gonna catch loads of them.
Um,
We might as well get Justin Tucker in.
But when you're marching up the field in clutch moments with not very long to go against your rivals, what that means for a quarterback like Rocco Becht, who knows, and I was talking about this with someone on, I think it was Monday, and what this means, and they were asking me like why. Rocco Becht completed 18 passes of 27 for 134 yards. Why? Because in situations like that, you will normally find if you don't have a kicker, you have to sling it. Your field goal range is a lot smaller. Your field goal range, you want to get there when you've got the timeouts, when you can try your hardest to be. Rocco Beck doesn't need to worry. You can put the game in front of you. You can obviously you want to beat the sticks, you want to get beyond the sticks, but also what you can do is make sure that that game is being played in front of you. You are not taking unnecessary risks with the ball, which Rocco Beck did not do. The only time I've really seen Rocco Beck take a risk, that was in week 0 and this week, where they had a couple of play calls, which was very similar to the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 that we saw in Dublin, where everyone thinks it's a run, you sell it that way, and then dink over the top. It's the only risk you take, but it's just an excellent play call that's well executed. Having a kicker in games like that just means you can just be so much safer with the football, so much better with the football, and move. The way you move with it is just so much easier for you.
Agreed.
But that means, like I say, obviously that means that Iowa State are 3-0. It was a close game, right to the wire. I believe, yeah. Iowa State were 13-3 up at one point as well. Iowa came back in the third quarter, fourth quarter. So they got a touchdown just before the half, and then they come back with another field goal. But there was a lot of back and forth on drives, and it was just an exciting game. Now, the final game I kind of wanted to mention from week 2 was another massive rivalry game that I want to fly through. I keep forgetting just how much of a rivalry this is, and it's Kansas, Missouri. And Gary's on mute.
I'm still muted from the Moody conversation. I realise that they do not like each other. These two
He's
teams.
having a Moody at the moment.
I'm having a Pinheiro. I'm all right with Rover. Apparently, that's who we're getting in. Anyway, moving on.
Go on, carry on.
Sorry, yeah, Kansas, Missouri do not like each other. What a rivalry this is. This is one of those bitter ones that, I suppose haven't been massively relevant. Neither of those two teams have been in the discussion. But yeah, this is my first experience of just how bitter the rivalry was between these two teams.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, this reminds me, Sam, I need to talk to you about something, probably not today, but at some point soon. Missouri go, they open the game, they score 6, and then they miss the PAT. Kansas march it right back down, they score 6. They actually do score a PAT. Then you have a fumble, then you have a scoop and score.
We all love a good scoop and score.
Love a scoop and score. By Kansas takes it 16-14. 14-6. And then right towards the end of the first quarter, it looked like Kansas were going to run away with it, and they were 21-6 up. Then what follows is a Mizzou touchdown, a safety, a field goal, and then they bring themselves right back into it. 21-21 to end the half. And then the second half was a little bit more Missouri. Did any of you guys give this game a watch?
No.
No, I was well and truly in bed at this point.
I think by this point, yeah, this was
It wasn't
the late.
Texas.
It wasn't
It
Texas.
wasn't
It
that
wasn't
late.
Texas.
It wasn't that late, I don't think. I know I was still in the living room, and my daughter was still awake when this was on.
Yeah, it was the 8 o'clock game, wasn't it? An 8 o'clock game?
Sure. I know you're old men here, lads, but like 8 o'clock on a Saturday.
8 o'clock on a Saturday. Other things were happening that
I'd already
tensions that we say.
Trying to think, what else was I watching then?
I'd already picked other games that I wanted to watch, so I didn't see everything.
I definitely had another game on because I had Texas on, and then I moved over onto another game. I can't think what game it was now.
Were you not on Baylor and SMU?
Baylor, SMU, or Ole Miss? No, Ole Miss was before, wasn't it?
I was on Ole Miss at one point.
I can't remember now. I flicked through quite a few games because I then ended up watching a bit of the Georgia game, which was really pointless. And watched just kept flicking through a few different games, but it wasn't. I can't remember what game it was now. But either way, I didn't watch this game. But it was probably a game that I should have watched given the score.
In the end, it was well worth the watch on the telly. But again, if we've not all properly watched it, do any other games take your fancy over the weekend? What did you watch? Is there anything else you feel needs to be brought up about week 2 before we go on to the AP polls?
As I said, Baylor SMU was 2 overtimes. It was, I'd picked SMU in our picks, and that was another game where I ummed and ahed about whether I was going to pick Baylor or whether I was going to pick SMU. I picked SMU, and at one point it was just like, oh, right, okay, they've got this one. Switch off, put a different game on, and then the next thing you know, Baylor have come back and it's going to overtime. It's like, by that point, again, it goes back to what we said about Florida and being in the trenches, and by the time SMU realised they were in trouble, they couldn't then switch on and turn it around again. They'd switched off thinking we've got this one, and then couldn't get back in gear and get going again. And it was just, it was an awesome comeback. It really was.
I mean, Baylor's quarterback, Sawyer Robertson, went 34 completions out of 50, 68% completion rate, 440 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 20 yards on the floor as well. Like, I mean, the stats wise, they're pretty decent stats. You get 168.3 passer rating, and then you had Bryson Washington with 2 touchdowns on the floor as well. So pretty big. I mean, I think in total it was like 606 yards on offense for Baylor. 601 yards of offense to SMU's 458. Crazy numbers, to be honest. It worked out for me because I had TJ Harden in one of my college leagues, and he went off. So I was happy about that.
I'm quite happy because I'm pretty sure I picked Baylor to win their conference. So
You did.
even though I think that might have been their first win and they haven't done so well up to this point, it's still,
Well, their
proves.
their last game was against Auburn, and
Mm.
that finished 24-38. So I mean, that was still a good
Still
tight game. I think
sort
it
of
was,
respectable, wasn't it? I think
yeah.
the spread was probably more than that, so they probably covered the spread.
I mean, at the half, it was only 17-10, so they were well within the game. So yeah, and also Auburn are just really good.
Yeah.
There
Another
was one
game
game I wanted to shout out, which I thought was kind of a divisional decider potentially, or sorry, a conference decider in Liberty versus Jacksonville.
Who?
So who?
Liberty.
Liberty.
Thank you.
Ah,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I chose Liberty to win. In our pick
So did
games.
I.
I think we all did, didn't we?
No, there was
I was
one
really
person who
disappointed on
didn't.
the pick sheet. You didn't even put Liberty.
So
'Cause
hang
I've got
on,
to
hang on. I
do-
want to. We'll get on to who didn't in a second. There, Gary. We'll get on to that one
I
in a
know.
second.
I think everyone knows now who didn't.
But yeah, I just thought this was an interesting game because for
Yeah.
me it's going to be who's going to potentially win the division in the conference in terms of between these two teams. I think in terms of choices, I think I definitely picked Liberty to win this conference, and I'm pretty sure someone chose the Gamecocks to potentially win this division.
I picked Liberty to win the conference as well.
Last year, I chose the Gamecocks to win their conference, but not this year.
Yeah. Okay. But either way, I just thought this was the sort of game that could potentially be whoever wins potentially goes on to win the actual their conferences. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting one. But yeah, it turns out that we still haven't really, because I mean obviously
we can't really pick them.
Yeah.
So
But I mean both teams played well in that game. I think, Jacksonville were just that little bit better. I think they were. I mean, it was two completely different offenses. You had Liberty, which loved to throw the ball with Vasco, who had 315 yards with 2 touchdowns, and Jacksonville just run the ball.
Yep.
That's all they do. And again, and the reason why I also want to mention this, I have Cam Cook in my college league, so I had Harden and Cook as my 2 running backs, and he ran for nearly 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So again, very happy that he did well. But it was, it's you look at the stats for the Jacksonville quarterback. It was 6 completions out of 12, so 50% completion rate for 52 yards. No touchdowns. That's it.
10 yards of completion. It's moving the chains, I guess.
No interceptions though, so that's a positive. And he did get a passer rating of 86.4. He also ran for 78 yards as well and 1 touchdown. So at least he was productive on the ground.
Just want to shout out one more game that went to 2 overtimes. Another game because I forgot about Baylor SMU and just how far that game went. Michigan State versus Boston College went to 2 overtimes. That was I was reading some of the things coming through for that game that looked very, very fun. For those who were watching, Michigan State walk out 42-40 winners. Both teams at one point in the game in those overtimes had a 99.9% chance of winning as well. So it just the win probability meter there is absolutely crazy.
And a very, 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 because they are going to be, if anyone's paying attention to the pick'ems that we do when we come on to those later on, Appalachian State Mountaineers are 2-0. They got a win against Lindenwood. which was 20-13. So they are 2-0. Yes, they've only played Charlotte and Lindenwood, but they're 2-0.
Lovely. Yeah, so okay, that's where we're gonna call. I thought no, last thing I want to say. Oregon, I know we don't want to talk about like the hundred and billion to nils. Oregon, two things that I just wanted to shout out about them. One, they scored 69 points. Two, their first three plays, they had 143 yards and two touchdowns.
It's just
Against Oklahoma State, who were just
dire.
awful. And given that last year everyone thought Oklahoma State were going to be great because they had Ollie Gordon fell off. This was meant to be a playoff team a year or so ago, and now we're talking like Oklahoma. They're not meant to be a slouch of a team.
Shout out to Ollie Gordon starting again, playing a decent amount of snaps for Miami, even though they were utterly woeful in their opening game.
Yeah. But that's all I wanted to mention. I just thought it was really funny seeing three plays, 147 yards, two touchdowns. That's fantastic. A fantastic statistic. Moving on to week 2, we're going to move to where we are right now, which is 2.5. To start off with, to wrap off week 2, Sam, how did the pick'ems go? Can you please tell everybody how the pick'ems went and who won this week's pick'ems?
We don't care.
Who won?
In
The
terms
fans
of
won this week.
in terms of the overall results for this week, let me just get the actual things in front of me. Most people, I think, were fairly even this week. So Egg, I think, decided that Egg went back to week 1 Egg, where he just picks the opposite of what everyone else does and just kind of goes. I don't know how he makes these decisions, but it feels like he does it for like, if it goes well, it looks hilarious. That's my way of seeing it. But he scored 3 points. Between me, Nick, Gary, and the fans, we scored 5 each. And because he keeps mentioning, because he wants it mentioned, Fletch managed to get 9 points this week. Ironically, the only team to let him down was his own team.
I did say before we started in the green room, I said, whose advice have you been listening to this week?
Yeah, he's been listening. He's been listening to this Locked On College Football, hasn't he? He's been.
This is called elite ball knowledge.
No, it's not. It's called Spencer McLaughlin.
So the overall table, which we will put out and keep up to date with, at the moment, Fletcher's on 19 points. The fans take second place with 15 points. They have actually scored 5 points every single week. So credit to the fans, they're doing well in being very consistent. And then we have a 3-way tie for third place between myself, Gary, and Nick, who are all on 13 points. And then Egg is last with 11 points.
Bringing up the rear. Bringing up the rear is Ed.
Hey.
The pick'ems for next week have gone out, and they will be available too on our Discord, and will be once I actually put them on there. And obviously, do go to a few other places around, mainly to the UK and Ireland, voting top 25 voters. So they do go out to them as well, because we do like their opinions as well. But in terms of next week, do you want to know what the games are going to be for next week?
Tell us, Sam.
Tell us, Sam.
We have Arkansas versus Ole Miss, which I think will be an interesting game. Georgia, Tennessee, which is our tiebreaker game as well.
Kind of big game in a week, isn't it?
Yeah. Washington State against North Texas. The MacGuffin.
The MacGuffin Bowl. The Shula Bowl.
South Florida versus Miami. Again, it's a 2-ranked team, so it had to be included. This week, we have our debut for 2 teams in Appalachian State versus Southern Miss.
Go.
We've also got returning Texas A&M. Well, Texas A&M's first time in our thing, but returning against Notre Dame. I wonder if Nick will be brave enough to back his own team again. So then we've got we've got a Carolina rivalry in East Carolina versus Coastal Carolina. Two returning teams in Duke versus Tulane. One of Nick's favorite military teams in Air Force versus the Utah State.
Utah State.
Of course he wants the military to lose again.
And then we have Minnesota versus California to round it up. And as I've already said, the tiebreaker will be the total points scored in the Georgia versus Tennessee game.
Just while we're on App State, when we did our Appalachian State special, Sam, we both agreed that there was the potential that they could win their first 3 games before then possibly coming unstuck at Southern Miss. But we had them down to win their first 3 games, maybe.
I'm backing them to beat Southern Miss. I'm backing them.
They could go 3-0.
They're proving themselves to no longer be that slack 2 division team that everyone kicks the shit out of.
Exactly. But
I reckon Clemson lose this week as well. But anyway, that's a trap game for Clemson.
You don't get a point for that, though.
I know. I'm just hoping. Who else
Clemson got this week?
Georgia Tech.
So, before we get on to week 3.
Anyway, before we get on to week 3, I need to talk about this AP pollster. I know we've briefly touched on it, and I think it probably needs a little bit of talk.
Yeah. So the AP poll is out, and so is the UK and Irish CFB Media poll, which unfortunately I was just this week I was just too chaotic for me to get my stuff in time. The NFL UK event and all that sort of stuff that was going on this weekend. The AP poll is as stands: Ohio State, LSU, Penn State, Oregon, and Miami 1-5. 6-10 is Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, Illinois, Florida State in at number 10. They are a top 10 team again. 11-15 is South Carolina, Clemson, Oklahoma, Iowa State, and Tennessee. 16-20 is Texas A&M, Ole Miss, USF, Alabama, and Utah. Then finally, we have Texas Tech, Indiana, Michigan, Auburn, and Missouri to round it off. Garrett, the floor is yours to go through.
Right, starting off, we do not deserve to be 10th. There is a team, we should be below Iowa State. They are 3-0. They've just been, they have a better record. They should be above Florida State. That's first of all is what I'm going to state there. We should not be top 10. Yes, we beat Alabama. Then we cakewalked 77-3 against whoever it was. East Texas A&M, does not get us a top 10 ranking. It should not get a top 10 ranking. That's my first port of call. I think Iowa State are being hard done by. We think USF is probably being hard done by the way they are, as we talked about. Overarchingly, as we talked about some of the other teams who didn't play, didn't win, didn't move, or did move, even though they won, as you say, Nick, 4-5-6. Why did Oregon jump when everybody won and everybody had a very similar cakewalk game this week? It's a bit of an oddity there. So there's some strange ones in there. There's some levels there that are quite. I don't know why Michigan is still in there, to be honest. I'm quite surprised they didn't fall out of the 25.
I mean, I'm like you. That I look at this and I think there is some serious questions to be asked because, as I said, in week 2, Georgia were 4, Miami were 5, and Oregon were 6.
Yeah.
Now, Oregon didn't do anything special to jump Georgia, and Georgia didn't do anything wrong, so they shouldn't have changed. Notre Dame didn't play, so they certainly shouldn't have gone up, but they shouldn't have gone down either. Iowa State in 14 are 3-0. UNLV
Unfair.
are 3-0. Well, UNLV are 3-0, so why are they not on the list?
Mm-hmm.
They're Michigan shouldn't be there. Alabama shouldn't be there. Clemson shouldn't be that low. They won again. They should be in 8 where they were. There's Georgia Tech should be on there.
Somewhere,
they are playing really well at the moment. You said about Georgia Tech might beat Clemson this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens either.
Yeah.
If Sam had put that on the list, I'd have been picking Georgia Tech.
Yeah, me too.
So, Georgia Tech should be on the list. UNLV should be on the list. Michigan shouldn't. Alabama shouldn't. Iowa State should be higher up. Clemson should be higher up. The top 8, as of last week, should not have changed. In fact, the top nine last week should not have changed.
Should just rinse and repeat. But circling back to that, what's become apparent, or has been, one person has been highlighted when people, because obviously people analyze these polls and who votes for what and et cetera, et cetera. There's been a noticeable what the hell moment in regards to a number of the AP pollsters voting for things. Haley Sawyer is the one who's kind of drawn the most ire because she actually managed to leave USF unranked, but actually increased or ranked Florida higher after they lost to USF. Subsequently, she has come out on an interview and said, "Hey, it's all a bit of fun. It doesn't really matter," which is probably potentially. You're on mute, Sam.
Why are we focusing so much on it then? Why has it become a thing? If even the ones doing it basically say it's a bit of fun,
we don't really care.
It literally becomes one of the staple parts of college football.
Yeah, it's the only thing you have. Because people don't play the same teams, it's the only thing you have to measure where you are. And to be fair, I kind of see what they mean. By the time the playoff chart comes out, by the time the playoff ranking comes out in week 8, somewhere
9,
around there,
somewhere like that, yeah,
somewhere around there. By the time the playoff week ranking comes out, the AP doesn't really matter. People stop paying attention to the AP, and it's all about the playoff ranking. So I can understand her saying, well, it doesn't really matter. Yes, once the playoff ranking is out, that is very true. But until the playoff ranking comes out in 8, 9, 10, whatever week it comes out, this is the only ranking we have to see where people are, because people don't play the same teams. And if you're not taking it seriously, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Let somebody else do it.
And a number of other AP poll people who vote have come out and said, this makes the rest of us look bad who do the due diligence, who do take this seriously. You can't just pop up here and go, oh, I get a vote, but hey, it's all a bit of fun and nobody really cares. That's belittling it. And it's also belittling it for the student athletes who are doing really well. And yes, maybe by week 9 or 10, USF might not be in the conversation. But right now they are, and they deserve to be ranked, because by being ranked, you get more media attention. You get whatever comes with being a ranked team, even if it's AP ranked and not, as you say, college football ranking or whatever else. You're still ranked, and you get a ranked team there. Potentially, you get TV coverage because you're ranked, and the money and all the trickle down effect that happens. It is quite a big thing.
It gives you recognition that what you've done is a good thing.
Yeah,
I think, and it's all about putting it in perspective. Is that for a team like USF to beat Florida is a massive deal for them. It's not only is it a team that's within their own state and is considered one of their rivals, it's also a team that's in the SEC. It's a team that was considered a ranked team going into the week. Well, they were a ranked team going into that week. Like, there's so many different differentials that come with that it just kind of, not including them, just kind of sweeps that all aside. And it then starts to show, like, to a team like USF's, like,
what's the point?
What's the point in us of getting these wins and being able to say we've beaten a ranked team, so we deserve to be up there? Because if you're then going to dismiss them winning, like UNLV, like, people are just going to dismiss it and just say, oh, well, UNLV, they're a group of 5 team, that's why they're not in it. It's like, yeah, but they're 3-0.
Yeah,
they deserve to be. Yeah, they deserve to be.
They can only beat teams that they are scheduled to play against, and if those teams are
sounds like a conversation we had last year, Nick.
Yeah,
if they can only beat who they can play, And if the teams that they are playing, yes, okay, they're not going to be your Ohios, they're not going to be your LSUs, but they're going to be in and around the same teams that they would normally be playing. So they should still get recognition for that. And it's, yeah, okay, they don't get to, they aren't going to probably beat an Ohio. They're not going to beat an LSU, but they still deserve the recognition of being, well, we beat a team who was considered one of the favorites for our own conference. That's a massive win for a team like for a team like UNLV. And it's that level that we need to be pushing to say they deserve to be ranked because they have done what they need to do. They've won 3 out of 3 games. They've beaten the teams that they need to beat. And as it stands, UNLV will be the group of 5 team to get into the college playoffs. As it stands, I'm assuming.
I mean, I think UNLV got 5 points this week. That's all they got in the rankings. 5 points. I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for myself. When we do the UK and Ireland media one, I don't just throw it in with 10 minutes to the deadline and just wing it. And I sit there and I think about what's gone on over the weekend, and I put some thought into it, and I look at what teams are playing well, and teams that are 3-0 deserve to be higher than any team that is 2-0, regardless of who you've played, because you've won an extra game.
Yeah.
If you've put, and then you can say, right, well, the teams that have are 2-0 and have played a ranked team above 2-0 teams, and you can work it out, and eventually you come to some sort of you get some sort of state of play, and you think that is, in theory, I'm happy with that, and I try. I'm not perfect, and I will probably rank some teams that people will think, well, why are you ranking? But that's just me. I do the job to the best of my ability. I don't just go, well, it's just a bit of fun, isn't it? I actually take it seriously. I try not to be a homer. I try. If anything, I'm harder on Notre Dame than I am on anybody, because I'm trying not to be a homer, and so I'm like, well, the rules that I always work to: if you win, you deserve to either stay where you were or move up. If you don't play, then you shouldn't lose a spot, but you shouldn't gain a spot either. It's not your fault that you haven't played. And I try my best. And when you get people that are just like, well, I can't be asked, it doesn't really matter, that really gripes. And yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of why we'll get onto the UK and Ireland one in 1 second, because I do want to at least talk about that, not for very long, because this is the one that ultimately, at the end of the day, right now, is the one that really, really matters in the real world of college football. But that's why I didn't post one, because if I'd put one in this week, I'd have taken 10 minutes and just gone, I'd have probably looked at some other top 25 and kind of gone, yeah. Oh, I'll put them. I'll drop them down to the whole.
That's why I didn't put one in this week, because I just haven't had time.
Because I literally did not have the time. By the time I got up on Sunday, it was all systems go all day. Didn't have the time. Just a quick mention too. The biggest risers this week are Tennessee, who rose 7 places. They were 22 last week. Now they are 15. The biggest fallers were Michigan, who fell 8 places to 23. So looking here at the UK and Irish one, mostly the same. I think it's the same 25 teams, just some of them in a slightly different order. For example, Oregon this week flew up to number 3. Instead, Michigan are at 25, or Florida State are at 8.
Going on the same conversation that we had, why do Oregon deserve to be above Penn State?
They don't.
Both teams won.
Yeah.
So why did they jump 3 places and Penn State drop 1?
I mean, I get Penn State weren't great, though, right? Penn State weren't great, so I guess from a UK perspective, they're basing it a little bit more, and everyone
Yeah, but
expects Penn,
it
but
it,
it
it doesn't
shouldn't.
matter. It doesn't matter whether you were good or not. You still won the game, and that's the whole point. So I just think it's just a bit bizarre that essentially both teams played scrub games where they were going to win, but because Oregon scored more points, they deserve to jump up places. Well, then, if that's the case, why didn't Georgia jump up places? Why did they drop 2 places?
Yeah.
I don't want to comment again. I didn't do it this week, so I don't want to comment too much on where people have placed it and have my own opinions on it because I guess it's not really fair for me to do so. Although I know some of it comes in like again, it's how good do you look while playing? What was the opposition that you were playing? Um, yeah. So again, just to give a shout out to the biggest riser of the week was Oklahoma, who rose to
Hmm
10th place in the UK and Irish CFB Media Top 25. The biggest faller, and I'm going to give actually a shout to the two biggest fallers of the week, by the way. You had Clemson, who fell by 8 places to 16th. That is a massive, massive drop. And then Michigan dropped by 11. And also just give a shout out to, in terms of teams that have fallen out, and also the new entries. The new entries in terms, again, they're the same in both the AP and the UK and Irish top 25s. The new entries are South Florida,
Yay!
Missouri Tigers, and Auburn Tigers. And the teams that have fallen out are Florida, SMU, and Arizona State. Whom, by the way, my last comment on anything week 2 will be I watched some of that Kenny Dillingham press conference. Very, very honest. Very honest about how the poor calls that were made, explaining the decisions behind it and why they were bad decisions. I thought fair play to him. You know, it takes a lot of balls to come out and say I was wrong and this is why
hmm
I was wrong. Not a lot of coaches would be willing to be that honest, even if they will be honest and just say, "Oh no, we made a bad call. It was the wrong decision." Not a lot of coaches are that honest. But that is both of the top 25s. Screw the AP one. If you want to learn more about the UK and Irish CFB Media top 25s, you can do so at thetouchdown.co.uk. If you're on YouTube, you can look at the graphic, it has it down there. Cy Carroll, NFL Draft side puts it all together for us fantastically. And then the Touchdown UK all goes up on the Touchdown UK first. We'll try and follow it up a little bit with some stuff on it the next day or something. But if you want it first, it's always there that you need to go to. Okay, so on to week 3. The best place I feel like to start with on week 3, as we go our last graphic on the screen, is what football you can watch in the United Kingdom this week for absolutely free. Now, there's been a little bit of chaos as far as it goes in terms of games on
Is it
DAZN.
still free?
Is it still free? Is it not? Now, a game's appeared for me as locked on, I believe it were, I can't remember what day it was now. Every day's a blur to me at this moment in time. It's all coming together as one. But before the weekend, all the games were showing up for me as locked in week 3. Then a little while later, they start. Some of them were unlocked, some of them were locked. Some of them were. Then they all became unlocked. I had a conversation with DAZN, by the way. They couldn't
Mm.
provide me clarification on when anything was being put behind paywalls, but what I was told about the paywalls, which I do think is important information, is it will be covered under the DAZN subscription on its own, which I believe is, if I can get the information, I should have got the information back up anyway, which I put into the chat that we are in. Let me try and find the. Nope, it was a little bit further up than that. Yeah, okay. So The DAZN subscription is you got £25 a month. That's a rolling contract. You can cancel any month, any time. £15 a month, and it'll be on a 12-month fixed contract, and then £120 if you want to pay for it upfront for a year. That is what I was told by DAZN themselves.
Is that's separate from the NFL Game Pass?
Separate from
Yes.
NFL Game Pass. NFL Game Pass and whatever this will be are completely separate. Before anyway, I've had some complaints this week. I've had some people telling me how stupid it is. Like, it's nothing to do with me. And to be fair, the NFL, it's the NFL's decision to keep that exclusive. You talk to the NFL about it. It's not, the zone have no control over that, which I think to an extent, fair play to them. If they're going to put it behind a paywall, put it behind one where you can get about 50 other sports as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not here to be a mouthpiece for DAZN, but I do want to say it's not their fault that the subscriptions are separate at all.
The NHL falls under DAZN's basic subscription as well. So
Yes.
NHL, great NHL.
If you want to watch, if you follow the NHL, if you used to watch it on Premier Sports, I think it was, it's now moved to DAZN, and that will be under their subscription as well.
Yeah.
So you will
you get a fair bit for the subscription that you're going to get.
You get a load of boxing, and you get some more of the football, and there are a load of things. It's like, all I'm saying is, like, people are quick to mention DAZN as the boogeyman, not ESPN, not the NFL. DAZN are not the boogeyman in this. DAZN are not the ones trying to cause a problem. If anything, I think what DAZN have done, given the way they're operating under, they're trying to do things a little bit right by trying to make it as accessible as they can, while it goes behind a paywall. So, look, I'm just saying, fair play to DAZN. I think they're trying to do the right thing as best as they can. Okay, so for free this week, we have on Thursday night football, because, well, there's no other Thursday night football this week, is there? No, didn't think so. At 12:30 on Thursday night / Friday morning, we have North Carolina State at Wake Forest. That is a potentially big game in the ACC.
Could be an upset.
At midnight on Friday night / Saturday morning, we have Colgate. Yes, the toothpaste has its own university against Syracuse. And then at 12:30 that night, we have Colorado at Houston. Yeah,
Colorado will be sporting their newly announced quarterback of Ryan Staub, who has been made the new starter for this game week. So
yeah.
He was third on their depth chart as well. So he's jumped from third to first.
He was a redshirt sophomore going into the start of the season, and he has now been made the starter above Caden Salter and Julian Lewis, I think is the other guy. So I think they're the other two. So yeah, interesting decision, but see how it works out.
So Colgate at Aquafresh was actually last week.
Oh, was it? Sorry, I must have missed that one.
And they're at home to Sensodyne on week 8. So if you want to... I heard the kits are fresh, though. Anyway, no, that's the last one. Those are the matchups Thursday and Friday night. And then on Saturday, we have at 2 p.m, we have College Game Day. At 5 p.m, we have Georgia Tech hosting Clemson. Then we have Wisconsin.
Gold Jackets.
At 5 p.m. Also at 5 p.m. is Wisconsin, Alabama. Then at 8:30, we have Georgia traveling to Tennessee. Then at 12:30 that night, we have Florida at LSU. So if you're looking for a close game, I wouldn't watch that one. At 1 a.m. on Sunday morning, Duke at Tulane.
That could be a close game.
That could be, but I still expect Tulane to run away with it. And finally, we have at 3:30 in the morning, if you are a degenerate like me, or if you've been out for the night, you've had a few pints, you've danced with a few lovely ladies, or and you come home with a kebab, little bit tipsy, thinking I need something else to do with my night, you've got Minnesota at Cal. as well. So you can sit down with your kebab and watch some college football, which to me sounds almost like a perfect night, apart from I'd rather just the whole night was spent watching college football.
I was going to say, take away the going out part, and you have me.
Yeah, we're all 30 plus now. We're all on the staying.
None of us can do that anymore.
We're
Well, we
all
can
on the
do
stay.
it, but the long-term effects are a lot longer term,
I was
shall
gonna
we
say
say.
someone had an all-nighter in Dublin, didn't they?
Yes, and boy, did I feel it for the rest of the week.
So that's it. We've got 9 free games to watch on DAZN this week, including a top 25 matchup in Georgia at Tennessee. Also this week, granted not on DAZN, there are 2 more top 25 matchups, which include, where have they gone? Notre Dame and Texas A&M. And why are
Sky
you showing me?
Sports, 12:30.
Sky Sports,
There's another one.
which
That's too late for me.
yeah,
There's another one, isn't there? I'm sure there's another one.
there is these 3 this week. I'm just trying to find where it's gone because I did post. I
Gone. Where's it
scheduled
gone?
something
Where's
for
it
it before.
gone? Da-da-da-da-da. Oregon? No.
Oh, that was it.
Oregon.
USF at
Mm.
Miami, the
My
MacGuffin
God, it's
Bowl.
the one we've been banging the drum about. What are you
Yes.
talking about it?
The other
Is a
rank,
ranked matchup.
The other ranked
ranked
matchup. The Don Shula Bowl, the Florida Championship almost,
the MacGuffin
the
Bowl.
MacGuffin Bowl. I mean, it's got everything running on it.
So again, just what a real quick mention, and given the time, we can't focus too much on the weekend. There are a couple of interesting storylines, which are just what I mentioned more than anything. Clemson at Georgia Tech. This is a potentially very big game again in the ACC. The both teams playing their first conference matchup. Clemson have looked not so great to start the season. They did not look great at winning at the weekend. They did not look great at facing LSU, and Georgia Tech and Haynes King, the winners of last year's Aer Lingus Classic.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
looking good.
Catching strays again. Yeah, I said earlier, if this was a pick 'em, I'd have been picking Georgia Tech. I don't see
I'd have
Clemson
been
winning
on
this one.
Georgia Tech.
I think we've all fell for the.
I avoided it because I thought there were other games that I thought were more interesting, but
It's interesting because I mean I remember back when we were talking about the ACC and stuff. I think we all had a slight leaning, should we say, that we thought Clemson were going to be the best team in the ACC, and it's categorically not the case at this point in time. So Clemson are flattering to deceive and don't look anywhere near the team that we thought they might be. So
no, we get a couple of them every year, but we just did not expect it to be Clemson.
we didn't expect it to be Florida either, though, and look what happened to them.
Yeah, we did. After getting absolutely decimated, there was no way we expected to be as good.
Yeah, but at the start of the season, there was no way you were expecting you to be that bad.
No, not to be that bad, granted.
But the thing is, though, with Florida State, you can kind of see why they had a new quarterback. They had a lot of changeover from the previous season in terms of going to the draft. There were a lot of things that just you kind of look at and go, okay, maybe it shouldn't have been that bad. But we kind of get why they had a bit of a down year. There were some things that were just with Clemson. They have a potential Heisman winner at quarterback still. They have Darbo Sweeney, who's meant to be this absolute genius as a head coach, which, look, I'm not saying he's not, before anyone jumps down my throat. You've got all these different things that, like, Clemson don't fit that same bill.
But then at the same time, that there's always at least one team that starts the season slow and then works it out, and that could be what Clemson are. Because look at probably a good example probably would have been Ohio from last year. They started slow. They weren't exactly great. They did okay, and then they went on to win the Natty. So
yeah. I'm mostly looking here at top 25 teams, by the way, so please do. I know NC State Wake Forest is going to be a really good one. I'll definitely be watching that at 5 o'clock on my second screen. while I watch a Bill Pogge led Michigan team against Central Michigan. Obviously, that'll be my primary watch.
You
But
walk up. That'd be a
I thought no,
cakewalk.
NC State won't be on at 5 p.m. on that day. It'll be the Clemson game that I probably end up watching.
Mhm.
Very much looking forward to watching South Florida, Miami. I think that's going to be a lot tastier than we would have thought 3 weeks ago. The South Florida just seemed right up for it, and Miami, well, look, they've beaten Notre Dame.
Mhm.
So
Is that on TV over here, or are you going to be watching it on sports broadcast as Cat's broadcast?
USF Miami,
Hmm.
I do believe I'll be watching the play-by-play and then
Hmm.
imagining everything. Probably
Yes,
to absolute perfection, the
to
imagination.
perfection at the Hard Rock Stadium. But yeah, how that's going to look.
Isn't the USF game on Sky?
Nope,
Cool.
Thought we just said the USF versus Miami was on Sky.
no, it's Notre
No, no,
Dame.
Notre Dame's on Sky because Sky do Notre Dame. You know.
Yeah, but you said there were 3 games on.
Not on Sky. Don't the only coverage Sky
Well,
has is of Notre
that's what
Dame.
confused me because you said there were 3 games on, and you mentioned the USF when we were talking about the Sky games.
No, I'm confused.
Because when you said that, we said there are other games that are going to be on, and you said
Oh yeah, on
Notre Dame
DAZN.
are on telly, and then you mentioned the USF versus Miami game
Oh,
and one
sorry,
other.
that Nick brought up Notre Dame being on Sky, and then but we talked about the DAZN games, and they're not on DAZN.
Mm.
Um,
Throwing me off now.
I'm pro. That's on it. It's an advert. I'll be watching the play-by-play. Definitely watching the play-by-play. Not watching any sort of actual game. Um, there are again. I've not done enough. Kind of looking down, there do seem to be a couple of really interesting derby games. South Alabama, Auburn, may be a fun one. Wisconsin, Alabama may turn out to be a lot more fun again than we thought a few weeks ago. Because Alabama, yes, they absolutely did somebody down at the weekend, but there was a bunch of nobodies.
Arkansas, Ole Miss will be an interesting game.
Yeah.
Both teams are 2-0. Ole Miss have, although they've won, they've won those 2 games, they've maybe potentially flattered to deceive against Kentucky.
I'd say so. Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that there could be a potential upset there. Obviously Georgia Tennessee is going to be a great game. 2 teams.
Probably end up being a complete squib, won't it?
I mean, does that class as a? I'm sure that'll be a
Big
one for Mrs. Fletcher who loves Tennessee for the song, because both Georgia
Yeah.
and Tennessee are mentioned in that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there is some interesting games in this. But obviously, USC versus Purdue, both 2-0 teams.
Yeah. After running Rutgers really close and then causing an upset against West Virginia, the Ohio Bobcats are traveling to Ohio State. That could be
Mm.
they could get within 35 points of them. That'd be really exciting.
It's really tough to kind of build that up any more than you just did
Yeah.
there, unfortunately,
Um,
isn't it? It's like, oh, Bobcats. Oh, no, they can't.
And the most important team in Georgia could get their
Kennesaw
first
State.
win this season
Kennesaw
because they
State.
are playing Merrimack Warriors.
Yes, they are.
Woohoo!
Yes, they are.
I'm on the Owls.
Merrimack Hate Week. It is. That's what we're calling it in the Fletcher household. Merrimack Hate Week.
So,
Why not?
Merrimack.
How are our fighting camels doing, Sam?
You know what? I'll have a look now. Let's go to FCS teams. Let's see if I can find them as quick as I can. Continue talking about other games
Yeah.
while I try and find them.
I'm just going through some FCS here.
I'm just trying to think, where do we think the biggest upset might be this week? Would we call USF beating Miami an upset?
I'd still call it an upset.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, they're on the road, not very far, but they're on the road. They're against a top 5 ranked opponent. It has to be
Yeah.
an upset.
Mhm.
But I think that what you were looking at is what we're probably looking at is an unranked team beating a ranked team, and we're not looking at like the low ranked teams either.
Yeah,
I pro
Vanderbilt. Can't see Vanderbilt doing South
Arkansas are
Carolina.
probably going to be a cup
Arkansas.
potential
It
week
looks like
one.
Arkansas, Old Miss. Western Michigan, Illinois is not really going to happen. As you just mentioned, the Bobcats and the Ohio State. Unlikely, even though Ohio did pull off a nice win at the
It
weekend.
would be hilarious
Monumental.
if Ohio State lost to Ohio.
I absolutely agree.
I still think Georgia Tech. I'm guessing then really we're looking at Georgia Tech, Clemson.
Georgia
Yeah,
Tech and
yeah.
Arkansas.
I think so. That has to be Georgia Tech, Clemson. Again, Clemson are 12th ranked, Georgia Tech unranked. I think, yeah, we have to be looking at that one for the upset of the week.
The Campbell Fighting Camels are 0-2. They lost to Rhode Island, who are 2-0 in week 1, 31 to 20, and then got their ass handed to them by East Carolina, 56 to 3. They play Furman this week, so they play Furman Paladins.
Good name. What a name.
Who are 1-1 in going into week 3.
Come on, the Camels.
Right. I have one final thing to mention before we go. Forgot to read it out last week, and I am so sorry, Paul. But the good teams and great teams cover have given us their underdog, under, favourite, and over for the week. The game that's the game they play on their podcast, the Good Teams and Great Teams Cover podcast, where they cover the NFL. So if you want to hear theirs,
go and subscribe.
Please do. The link to which their YouTube channel is in the description of the episode. Their underdog for the week is New Mexico, plus 15.5 at UCLA. UCLA are outright bad. They've had a whopping from Oregon and lost to UNLV last week. New Mexico might be from the basement of the Mountain West, but they covered against Michigan in week 1, and I expect them to do the same here. The under will be Clemson, Georgia Tech. The under is 54. Expect this to be a real close game, and was leaning to what taking Georgia Tech plus 3.5. Clemson haven't got going on offense yet, and this will be another tough defense to face. In tight, close game, I'll take the under 54. The favourite of the week is Oregon, minus 27.5. 2 weeks out from a huge Big Ten clash against Penn State, expecting Oregon to have a big win to kick off conference play here at Northwestern. By the way, I still ride with the way they treated Tulane. Screw Northwestern. They've won one game. I'm after a 1-11 season from them now. Over to take will be Oregon State versus Texas Tech. The over is 62.5. Back to the well with Texas Tech. Home overs scored 67 and 62 in 2 home games to start the season. Another step up in quality of opposition, but I think Oregon State can help out more with this one and get to 20.
There was just one thing I wanted to mention, and it's only because Gary has mentioned it twice in the chat for 2 weeks now, and that's how bad Sam Houston are this year. They're 0-3.
They're absolutely getting pasted every time they turn up.
And they have they've lost to Western Kentucky.
Yep.
They've lost to UNLV, and then they've also lost to Hawaii this week.
Yep.
They have, and every single week they have given up 30 or more points, 35 or more points, 41, 38, and 37. But they have also scored 24, 21, 20. So they are scoring points.
They just can't
conceding a lot.
The other guys scoring. Yeah.
No, I mean, that game last week against Hawaii, they gave up 417 yards. The week before against UNLV, they gave up 404 yards. And then against Western Kentucky in week 0, they gave up 500 yards.
I think my call for them winning their conference is
that may be out the window.
Probably not going to happen. They might win their conference by being the worst team ever. That might be the only thing they win.
The only saving grace is that they don't have a game this week.
Yeah.
But
What is the next game, Sam?
against Texas, against us. So they could be 0-4.
Well, listen, right. Look,
They
I will
could be the
say
Texas
this.
trap game.
That streak of them putting up 25-ish points every week, at least that streak might become one of those streaks will be coming to an end, and that's probably the streak that will be coming to an end. Sadly, it's not going to be the giving up 35 plus points. It'll be the scoring 25-ish points, but they're not gonna.
They get a week off this week, and then like you say, they play Texas week 4, and then they get a week 5 bye week as well to recover from the pace. And they're going to get in week 4.
Wow.
Well, shout out to Hawaii, by the way, who are 2-1.
Go
Obviously,
Coach Reinbold.
beat Stanford 23-20 in week 1. They lost quite badly to Arizona in week 2, 40-6. But they've just beat, like I say, they've just beat 37-20. They've just beat Sam Houston. They are 2-1 and head off to play Portland State on Sunday at 5 in the morning.
They should win as well.
Which they should win. They'll be 3-1 headed into Fresno State. Sorry, Coach Reinbold. They're my people. But then
2 more home games though, so that's like, I think that's probably the one good thing for Hawaii is that out of their first 5 games, 4 of them are at home.
Yeah,
which I think is a huge advantage when you live on an island in the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah, people got to spend 6 hours to get to you. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for holding with us this long. You probably haven't. There's probably nobody left. But that's okay. If you like what you have heard and you are still with us, then please head to the links in the description. Come and follow College Football UK on social media. Follow the AEW on social media. Follow my 3 gorgeous co-hosts on social media. And, follow me too if you feel really bad for me as well, because you followed everyone.
You have to.
Join the Discord and come and chat with us about all things football. The NFL's back, college football's back. The European League of Football is in chaos. We're not really talking about it in the Discord, but I'd like to. So yeah, come and join us. Come and talk football. Come and talk all sorts of things, and we will see you next week for hopefully a slightly shorter episode to talk about everything that happens
Unlikely
in
with us, though.
week 3.
Good
See
stuff,
you next
boys.
week.
Speak to you next